The next presenter is, I'm very proud that he was actually the first community leader that accepted our invitation to be in the BTC Balkans. And he is leading the community in Slovenia, but more about that, he will tell you what is happening there and why it matters. Klemen, I'm sorry, but your last name is too hard for my English. Okay, see you.
Yeah. We on some next shit with this. Hey yo, fuck your shoebox money. You buying whips with cryptocurrency right now. Yeah. Tyler Durden, make them holler murder. Take them to the highest point of the earth, no need to follow further. The shit is universal, no time to do rehearsal. I never take a break, that shit is too commercial. I wasn't raised different, I was made different. Flow don't fuck around like it was raised Christian. Antisocial with these kids, we don't play with them. We just keep a small circle and we stay lifted.
Okay, good day everyone. It's so good to be here in Sofia, Bulgaria, so thank you to the organizers for inviting us. That video you just watched is a recap of our 2023 Bitcoin Pizza Party, and it's like a great summary of all the things that we've been doing in our community in the recent years. So I would like to first say maybe a few words to honor the idea of this event, that we are all here. We as Slovenians, we often kind of struggle with our national identity. For the last, let's say, 100, 200, even more years, we were only but a small part of a much larger empire. So it started first with the Austro-Hungarian rule, which lasted until the First World War. And then we kind of united with Serbs and Croats to form the kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenians, which then transformed into the kingdom of Yugoslavia, which fell apart during the Second World War, and it was then replaced by the communist regime under Yugoslavian rule. And that one lasted, at least for Slovenia, until 1991, when we finally won the battle for our independence, and we replaced communism with a capitalist regime. So just after we finally won our independence, we're starting to make sense of our actual identity. It lasted for 13 years, and then we once again cheered on the union with another huge behemoth, which is the European Union, in 2004. So once again, we surrendered our sovereignty to foreign, unelected European bureaucrats. So we are now in that kind of the problem. So in all that process, we kind of lost our real sense of our identity. Like, who are we? Are we Central Europeans that we were always wanting to kind of imitate? Are we Balkans? Are we Slavs? Or are we just Slovenians? And I believe the answer to this question is not so simple. The process of finding a nation's own, let's say, identity is kind of dynamic. But I believe that as European Union and this big regime is starting to collapse in the economic sense and the political sense and the sociological sense, that we are starting to lean more and more towards our common roots, which is the Balkans. And what better place to celebrate our common Balkan identity than here in Bulgaria, which is basically the origin of the Balkan region. It was in this place that the first Slavic literary language was established, the Old Church Slavonic. It was also through this place that Christianity spread throughout the region. So with it came literacy and knowledge. So this is what I wanted to say, a few words like as an introduction to this event, but now I want to tell our story, the story of Bitcoin in Slovenia, how we became who we are now, when we are like a globally recognized community in this space. So I divided this story into 3 chapters, where I will start with the first one, innovation, where it all began for us. Who here remembers their first Bitcoin transaction? Does anyone remember it? That feeling when you press send and you just know that you're part of something larger, right? It's kind of, you're kind of anxious, but you're also kind of enthusiastic about it. So that feeling was everything for us back in 2011, when all the things started. Let's look at some of our earliest pioneering examples. In 2011, some of our earliest pioneers established one of the earliest crypto exchanges, or Bitcoin exchanges at the time, Bitstamp. It is still active. That's 14 years ago. Then in 2014, a new wave of innovation came in Slovenia because Bitstamp gave rise to all sorts of startups, as a lot of money was being made and funds were being distributed. So Bitnik was formed in 2014. Bitcoin Slovenia, our community organization, was also formed back then, so that's 11 years ago. NiceHash was also founded back then. The idea for NiceHash was actually published on the old Bitcoin Talk forum. Then in 2017, during the crypto craze, other crypto startups were starting to emerge, and Enigma Labs was formed, now known as just NACA. And then 1 year later, Cryptomat was formed. So these are some of our first companies, most of which are still active, and they are quite successful and recognized in the world. So let's start with the first one, Bitstamp. Like I said, it's one of the earliest exchanges. It is still active. 2 young guys joined together to form this company, Damian Merlak and Nate Skodric. They sold it, however, in 2018 for 400 million euros, which was one of the largest sales of a private corporation in the history of Slovenia. And it immediately gave them the status of some of the richest Slovenians by net worth in the country. Then fast forward to 2024, Robinhood had bought the exchange now for 200 million euros, and so things are starting to change now, and we hope that good things are ahead for the company. Like I said, it's one of the oldest exchanges, and it had created many crypto millionaires in Slovenia, most of which had just moved out of the country for reasons that you will see by the end of my presentation. But as every innovation goes, every startup also has its down points or low points. So just a year after the crypto community was shook by the bankruptcy of Mt. Gox, where 800,000 Bitcoin were lost, and as Silk Road was getting crushed by the US regulators, Bitstamp also had its own struggles. First of all, a huge sell-off began after all that things from the previous year, but also they suffered a phishing attack. 19,000 Bitcoin were stolen from their hot wallet, which was a huge deal back then for the company, and they were panicking. However, their business model was strong, so they started a program and announced that they would gradually repay all its users. And throughout the years, they managed to actually do it, to pull it off. So they repaid all the funds, and their business model was so strong that in 2024, they actually helped redistribute the recovered funds from the Mt. Gox attack in the world. So then in 2014, our earliest guys kind of united, joined together and formed this association called Bitcoin Association of Slovenia, which still exists today, and I'm today here as a member of it. And it served back then, and it still serves as the community center in Slovenia. It is, I believe, one of the oldest still active NGOs in the space, if not the oldest. It had built a vast community of nearly 30,000 members across various social media groups, like Telegram channels, Facebook, or in-person meetups. So it's quite huge if we take into consideration the fact that Slovenia only has 2 million people. What are we doing? We are hosting meetups, other events. We help resolve issues from our members. And recently, we've also been lobbying to our regulators. So that community was followed by the establishment of NiceHash, like I said. And NiceHash is a hash power marketplace, which is an idea that was unprecedented before then. Like, I would never have thought that someday it would exist an option that you can actually buy and trade hash power without having to run ASICs yourself. And their business model is actually so interesting that they sometimes, or very often, manage to pay higher fees to their users, higher average fees than all the other mining pools. It's a unique business model. It was founded by Matjaž Korjanc and Matej Kubal, and it is still uncopied to this day. However, as much as we like to boast that we are the domicile of this company, they were forced to move their headquarters to Switzerland last year due to the MiCA European regulation. And Bitstamp was not the only company to suffer a phishing attack. Also in 2017, NiceHash suffered one. It stole 4,700 Bitcoin from them, and interestingly, the attack was allegedly perpetrated by the infamous North Korean hacking group Lazarus, which you might have heard about. Lazarus is most famous for hacking various crypto projects, such as the Ronin network in 2022, or this year they hacked Bybit. However, NiceHash also managed to repay all the stolen funds over the years. They successfully concluded that project. And NiceHash has been thriving from then on. And then innovation still didn't stop there. In 2018, Eligma Labs, like I said, was founded, and it was like a payment network. They collaborated with the largest Slovene trade center, which is incidentally also called BTC, to try out their new payment network. And what they do is they build their own modernized POS terminals for accepting payments, and they integrate crypto payments in them so that you can access various payment methods on the same device. And it was quite successful. Like, they successfully integrated Bitcoin and Lightning in 2024. They established more than 2,500 Lightning terminals across Slovenia, which is the most per capita in the world. And it worked well. They are now starting to shift their focus due to all the regulation here to Lugano and El Salvador, where they are the main infrastructure providers. The company was so successful that Tether started to look at it, and they actually successfully bought it last year at a valuation of 100 million euros. But as every innovation goes and every community goes, we also had our own civil war. And that civil war had many different aspects, but most of all, what happened was that we shifted our focus from the green color to the orange color. So let's look at what happened during that time. I call that period between 2017 and 2020 cryptification, because as we know, there was the ICO craze, the crypto projects started to emerge like crazy, and the volatility was spiking. So during that time, our NGO kind of got compromised. A lot of those, how would you say, speculators, crypto influencers, guys that tried to get rich fast, started to abuse our NGO to serve their own interests. So we had a large influx of crypto enthusiasts which organized Lambo parties. They wanted to show off. They spent a lot of Bitcoin, a lot of funds that our community has raised throughout the years were spent on those parties back then. And it looked like that. So you can see the green color everywhere, the Lambos, and this is one of our clubs in Slovenia. But out of that also came some good things, most of which is, most importantly, the first Bitcoin pizza party was held, where we had this huge Bitcoin pizza. I believe that it's record-breaking, 3 meters wide in diameter as a Bitcoin pizza. So this was like a tradition that began back then, and it is still ongoing to this day. But it was fun, yeah. But then everything went silent as COVID arrived. That was like the start of the crypto winter. where everything got shut down, lockdowns came, and everything went silent. The activities in our community had ceased, the enthusiasm has disappeared, and also the community had disappeared. So what happened then is that out of that silence came renewal of our community. The change of leadership occurred. Back then, Tony was elected president, who is here with me today to support us, and I joined in 2022. And as soon as I joined, I fell in love with the community. I really liked it, and what happened back then is that meetups started to be held once again. At first they were held online, then they finally could move to in-person meetups, and the community started to kind of re-emerge and renew, actually, and we're starting to grow more and more like regular attendees at our monthly meetups. So all the activities normally resumed, but the most important thing was that our vision has changed. Like I said, we went from green, the color of greed, to orange, the color of purpose. And Bitcoin basically became our sole focus. So Bitcoin pizza parties resumed. The one on the left, you can see here, is from 2023 Bitcoin pizza party that I showed you at the beginning. This one was also, I believe, 3 meters wide in diameter. And the one on the right is from this year. It's a bit smaller, but that's what we managed this year. And Bitcoin pizza parties are a very unique event because they're not just about partying, they are about panels, they're about education, about showing our projects, who are all basically, we are doing them mostly for free or just out of our sheer interest. So meetups began, like I said, that one, the big one you can see was from our recent tax bill discussion, I believe in September. So that one, the place was packed because everyone wanted to know what is happening with the taxes in Slovenia. And we established 3 separate Bitcoin meetup groups, one in Ljubljana, our capital, one in Maribor, our second biggest city, and one in the Zasavje region, which is more occasional. And those meetups happen every month. I believe we've now organized more than 60 or 70 of those meetups across all our groups, and more people are starting to join us. And these events are very fun because you get to meet like-minded individuals, you get to connect. It is, in my opinion, much better than holding them online. Despite being able to reach more people this way, I believe that the quality of such meetups is much higher. So our community grew. Perhaps it was not as big as before, but it was much stronger and much more focused. And we celebrated that with all the events that I showed you. So we were on a new mission. Our new mission was to spread Bitcoin adoption, which is actually the reason why our NGO was established in the first place. We now focused more on education and on knowledge. And how did we achieve that? We started translating books. In 2021, we translated the first Bitcoin book, which is, as you might guess, the Bitcoin Standard. And then it was followed by, I believe, 4 or 5 other books so far. And many others are now in the pipeline being translated. In-person meetups, I already told you about. And we also, at least myself, started to focus on educating the young generations because I find that very important. I'm a part of that generation and I see all the struggles that they're going through. So this is kind of our main focus currently, to just lecture students, high school students, and the young individuals. So you can see here, this was the event at the launch of our Bitcoin Standard translation. Seyfedin had joined us. And then 1.5 years later at BTC Prague, we finally got to know him in person. And then we already had 2 of his books translated, so it was quite interesting. But now I believe that we are translating his 3rd book as well. Here on my right or on your left is our biggest event so far. That was at my faculty, the Faculty of Economics in Ljubljana, which is the biggest faculty in Slovenia. It was an event organized for 250 students who are eager to hear what we have to say about Bitcoin, about proof of work, and about money. And on the other picture, this is an event we hosted for high school students, which we were invited to, which was also interesting, although they have all sorts of other stuff still in mind that they're not so interested in those topics yet. So by 2024, we could say that we were starting to reach our climax. This is where our story comes to the peak. We were in the top 5 countries for Bitcoin searches on Google search trends. But the truth is, we've always been there from the very beginning. It was just this year that we are getting higher and higher on that list. Like I said, we had most Lightning payment spots per capita in that year, which then all disappeared this year due to regulation. So we quickly went from 100 to 0. However, we were also domiciled to multiple successful companies in the industry. We hosted our first Bitcoin-only conference, the NiceHash X, which was going on in November last year. And Ljubljana was actually in an article published by Cointelegraph this year. It was ranked as the top 1 crypto-friendly city in the world. Although, because it was published this year, it might not be true anymore. And we will see why. So NiceHash X was like a celebration of all our achievements. The conference was organized because it was the celebration of the 10th anniversary of NiceHash, but it was also the 10th anniversary of our NGO, of Bitcoin Slovenia. So we united those 2 efforts, organized 2 stages, one for the Slovenian community that we took care of, and one for the foreign partners and friends of NiceHash. NiceHash even had their own POS terminals installed over across the city of Maribor. You could basically find many payment spots where you could use Lightning, and you can see all our community members that helped organize the Slovenian events here. But as all the innovation and community goes, politics always arrives. Now, we like to say that Bitcoin is apolitical, it's a neutral network, but the truth is that its community is not immune to these issues. The Bitcoin community is still a part of like a wider political landscape, and as any technological innovation is created, then politicians quickly arrive and try to swaddle it and exert their own influence over it. And we've seen that multiple times in Bitcoin's history. We've seen it with Silk Road, we've seen it with WikiLeaks, let's say. It's always been a struggle for us, and it's no different for us Slovenians as well. So in 2025, a new battlefront had opened for us, and politics started to become an issue for us. Whereas before, Slovenia was perceived as like a tax haven or just a haven for crypto enthusiasts. Like I said, it was ranked as the #1 friendly city in the world, Ljubljana was. But in 2025, things started to change. That's when we get to discuss taxes, if anyone likes to discuss that. This is where the first tax bill was proposed. It was in 2021. But to understand this issue, we have to actually go back to 2017 to the former director of our tax administration in Slovenia, who proposed the first tax on crypto assets or virtual currencies, as they were called back then. He proposed a 25% flat tax on capital gains in 2017. But that bill never got drafted. It was just an idea that served like a foundation. And he later changed his mind. In 2021, when he was the director of tax administration, he proposed a different kind of bill. It was a 10% flat transactional tax on Bitcoin. So it wasn't a capital gains tax, but he wanted to actually create a special value-added tax on crypto assets or virtual currencies. And this was a different approach. Some people celebrated it, some didn't like it so much. The problem was that it would tax all the payouts. So not just the gains, like I said, but all the payouts, which basically was discriminatory against this asset class, right? Because value-added tax in Slovenia is already known, and that would have to be like a specific thing. Okay, so our community members went to the negotiating table. They were at some meetings with the tax administration, and they managed to negotiate a 5% reduction on the tax rate on all sales, like we said, and people could actually claim losses. So you could lower your tax base if you proved that you had a loss. And another thing that was proposed in that bill was that up to 10,000 euros of payouts, you wouldn't have to pay the tax, which would allow for micropayments to still occur uninterrupted. So some people actually cheered on that bill because it would at least bring some clarity, but some people were worried that that tax rate would just eventually start to rise. And what happened was that in 2022, our government has changed, so the bill got shelved and we all celebrated. So the first tax bill attempt had failed. But then in 2024, like I said, a European directive came called MiCA, or Markets in Crypto Assets, and that one targeted the industry, the crypto service providers. What it tried to achieve was to provide clarity, transparency, and just rules for the crypto asset service providers, like I said. But in fact, it was more like a regulatory attack on the industry that would raise high barriers to entry to all the startups. And what came with it were licensing fees, regulation, reporting requirements, and other sorts of fees. And the problem was that also KYC rules came with it. And KYC reporting became mandatory, and one of such directives, I believe it was DAC 8 or the CARF one, actually took care of the Lightning payments industry, because it said that for any payment that exceeds the threshold of 1,000 euros, the merchant would have to collect KYC from their customer, which was impossible with the Lightning, because Lightning could then not be used normally, and it wouldn't be superior to other payment methods. So, but Slovenia lowered that threshold to 0 euros, which basically meant that we had to shut off all our Lightning terminals, and that's when NACA, former Eligma Labs, shifted their focus to other countries. Then in 2025, just as our industry got crushed, another attack occurred, our second tax bill proposal, and this was once again an attack on our community, on the physical persons. So this April, a new crypto tax bill was drafted by our finance ministry, and it proposed, you've guessed it, a 25% flat transactional, not transactional tax, but a tax on capital gains. So we, from a transactional tax proposal in 2021, we now moved back all the way to 2017 to the first proposal, which was the 25% capital gains tax, which is basically the same as other capital assets in Slovenia are taxed, although those have like a holding period relief or a grace period, but this one is just a constant 25% flat tax. And what was the problem with this bill? The main problem was actually not just the tax rate, but that it wanted to collect very sensitive data on our taxpayers, because it basically forces all of us on the 1st of January next year to report all our crypto holdings to the tax administration. So basically, it is a mass-scale wealth census on Bitcoiners. And this is unprecedented in our legal system. You don't have to report all your asset holdings in any asset class, but they wanted to achieve that with this one. Another problem with that bill was that it was pushed very rapidly to us without any pre-announcement, without any warning. No one had called any of our members and warned us or invited us to help them draft the bill. It was just published. So we immediately raised our alarms and we started mobilizing forces. I like to say that Men in Orange United, we formed like an initiative, and we started a petition first. That was one day after the tax bill was announced, and that petition quickly collected almost 3,000 signatures. We also published more than 300 comments on the tax bill during the public discussion period, which is a lot. I believe it is the most for any bill proposal this year. And we also wrote our complaints against this bill during that same period, where we've written at first, I believe, 33 pages of different complaints, and then we added like 18 additional because there were so many things wrong with this bill that we could just write on and on from every different aspect. And we also asked them to have a meeting with us so that we could at least discuss these things before it gets enacted. So what followed next was a series of meetings, first at the finance ministry, that's the smaller picture, then we were invited to the parliament. We actually also met with members of the Prime Minister's cabinet and the National Council. And now we are trying to achieve various amendments to this bill, and we'll see what happens. The bill still wasn't enacted, but the problem is that our current coalition is very strong, and the bill might very well be passed, but we hope to achieve at least some amendments, like I said. And success currently looks likely, but only God knows what can happen in politics, right? So this kind of brings us to the present and to my closing thoughts. What I want to say is that all of us face different challenges in the Bitcoin community. There are infinite possible fronts that keep opening, and we cannot win all the battles. So what we have to do is choose our battles wisely. We have to remember who we are as a community, what we stand for, because for us it is not about right-wing or left-wing politics. It's about choosing freedom over control. So what I would like to appeal to you is to stay consistent, remember your principles, and do not compromise on them. Because we don't choose Bitcoin because it's easy for us. We choose it because it's a moral compass, because it's right for us. So I would like to kind of leave you with these two words: choose orange. And just these are our projects that you can see here. And if anyone is interested to find out more about us or to get in touch with us, you can scan the QR code. You can contact us on social media networks at Bitcoin Slovenia, or find us at bitcoin.si. So thank you very much.